Welcome to Ask the Expert, North Texas on News Radio 1080 KRLD. I'm David Rancken.
And I'm Kristin Diaz. This afternoon, we have Cliff Freeman with the Cliff Freeman Group that's joining us to talk about home buyers and specifically first-time home buyers that seem to be getting through a little bit of a rough patch. Cliff, what can you tell us right now about the market?
Yeah, well, we saw inventory increase gradually into July. But now we've seen kind of a retreat in sellers coming to the market. The first-time home buyers, unfortunately, are taking a double gut punch right now with inflation and prices as high as they are. Frankly, wage growth just isn't keeping up with inflation right now.
I saw over the weekend that mortgage rates are at their highest level in a long time, almost 6% right now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of the data we look at is back from July, but the reality is that we're seeing 30-year fixed rates, pop up above 6% right now.
Let's talk about that for a second. You said wages versus inflation. How is the inventory here in the DFW for the budget of a first-time home buyer?
Yeah, well, between the increase in interest rates and the increase in prices, it's the affordability is just, out of reach of most people. And unfortunately, the builders are not responding to build more in that price point for the first-time home buyer.
Are there worries that we're in a real estate bubble right now, similar to what we saw in 2008?
Well, I think some people might consider this a bubble. I consider it more of a correction. Prices got so hot so fast for a fairly extended period of time. And, the pendulum kind of always swings to extremes. And, I think in this case, though, what we're looking at is something more toward normalization. The Florida Atlantic said the Dallas market was about 53% overvalued right now. So there is definitely, some room. We're not the worst in the country, but there's definitely some room for normalization back to the mean.
I'm really curious when you said about the builders and the price point, they don't see the interest in that. How come? Because it seems like there's such a need for that more affordable housing, especially here in the DFW Metroplex. It's not so much about the people that are flying in to come and buy the out-of-staters, out-of-towners, but those that are just here in the DFW Metroplex having such a hard time finding affordable housing. Why wouldn't that be to their advantage to build at that price?
Well, great question. Interestingly enough, the land is really what dictates can be built on it, because land has been bid up to such a speculative point where, it's only profitable for builders to build a certain higher price point. I don't know if this may be news to a lot of folks, but, Texas in general has some of the smallest lots in the country. And we're actually seeing that now. People are building on 35, 40-foot lots and putting zero lot line homes together just so they can get higher density and a higher return on the land that they're purchasing. But one of the issues is that this land, the price of land has gotten so high that builders just aren't able to still make the kind of money they can by building at those first-time buyer price points.
When you're talking about these kinds of zero lots, isn't there a risk to all of those foundations being dug so close together as the soil changes around here?
Well, I think the engineers in recent time have figured out how to build foundations so we don't have those kinds of issues. In lots of parts of the city, there are creeks running underground, and but the technology now that they're, with post-tension slabs and other types of engineering, I think are probably going to mitigate those worries.
What other advice would you give first-time home buyers in this market right now?
This is a tough time. And I would say, first of all, make sure you've got at least two professionals giving you advice, one on the financial side and the other on the real estate side. I can see, people that are sitting out right now that are saying, well, the prices are too high and rates are too high, I'm going to wait. The question is, in 2 or 3 years, are you going to be regretting that decision? There are no systemic problems that are going to crash the market. This is simply high school supply and demand. And until we get more inventory, we're still about 85,000 houses short of meeting the demand here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And until we can get those houses built, we're going to continue to have this supply and demand imbalance, which is directly impacting the price right now.
What do first-time home buyers have as far as problems and issues that more seasoned home buyers don't necessarily have?
Well, clearly the biggest impediment to first-time home buyers is saving enough for the down payment. Now, it is true that there are higher loan-to-value loans available, such as FHA, and if you're a veteran, there are 0 down payment loans available through the VA. However, it takes a long time for the average first-time home buyer just to be able to save up enough money for the down payment. And don't forget about closing costs, which can be as high as 3% of the purchase price of the home.
That's Cliff Freeman with the Cliff Freeman Group here in the DFW Metroplex. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.